stand, I'm Sander Seegers. A new and improved bid for Jadon Sancho was rumoured to have gone in yesterday, but we can tell you that is false. But the MEN are reporting that a new and improved bid will be going in for Jadon Sancho from Manchester United to Borussia Dortmund. Well, within the next 2 days. There literally is only 2 days left in the transfer window. So listen, crunch time for Manchester United. The MEN reporting that it's going to be a last-ditch attempt for Manchester United to sign their right winger. And listen, as far as I'm concerned, realistically, no one knows whether it's going to happen or not. You've got some like Mark Goldbridge in the 90% club. You've got some like Flex potentially in the 0% club. James Cooper, I think, said he was in the 30% club. In regards to where I stand on it, it's a difficult one. I'm waiting, like you guys, for the Fabrizio Romano "here we go" tweet. Until that happens, I don't believe it's going to happen. Until that happens, I think the deal's, not going to happen, right? The "here we go" tweet is as good as holding the shirt up outside Old Trafford as far as I'm concerned. I'm waiting for that like you guys, but we can speculate. And in regards to Manchester United's new bid, I trust the MEN in regards to the fact that Manchester United will put another bid in, simply based off the fact that it doesn't make sense. Why would Manchester United have waited all this time, right, knowing that Borussia Dortmund's evaluation of Jadon Sancho was 120 million euros? Why would they have waited all this time to put, 90 million euros in? It doesn't make sense at all. I feel like Manchester United will, when push comes to shove, put in a bid that is sufficient and that sort of does appease Borussia Dortmund. And when that does happen, Jadon Sancho will sign for Manchester United. Of course, I could be wrong. Of course, Jadon Sancho might never sign for Manchester United. And I do think it will be a situation in which if he doesn't sign for Manchester United this summer, it's very rare that we're going to go and get him next summer because, listen, the guy's only going to get more expensive. Next year, we're going to have, not only will he be more expensive, we're going to have, competition for his signing. Barcelona, Real Madrid, even Chelsea, he's a boyhood fan of Chelsea, or so, so it's sort of been reported. They're all going to be in for him next summer, so we've got a free run at him at the moment. So I think it's now or never in regards to Jadon Sancho and Manchester United, and there really has never been a better time to go out and get a top world-class talent. And he really is that. Don't be under any illusions that he is that. But it is crunch time as far as Manchester United are concerned for Jadon Sancho. And I'm sure we're all eagerly waiting for Romano's tweets and Romano's updates. But unfortunately, we don't have any. As I said, the MEN reported that a new and improved last-ditch attempt and last-ditch bid will be going in for Jadon Sancho within the next, 2 days. It can only be that. And I believe that. I truly do believe that. But time's running out now. It really is running out. And if you're potentially looking to get rid of players, we've got to touch on Dan James and Leeds later, and others, Chris Smalling, maybe Diogo Dalot, Andreas Pereira, you get him off the wage bill to an extent. If you're looking to offload players, those deals have got to happen now. If you're relying on Chris Smalling's, sell money to fund your Jadon Sancho move, that deal has to happen now, because as bad as Manchester United are at buying players, it seems we're equally as bad at selling players as well, because that Chris Smalling deal, despite looking likely to happen, still hasn't happened. Diogo Dalot, we'll touch on him later. Loan deal. Pereira, loan deal. Do you know what I mean? Chelsea can get money for the likes of Bakayoko and all their deadwood players. Everyone else can seem to get money for them and sell them on a permanent basis. But Manchester United, we seem to not only loan them, but pay half their wages when they're gone as well. We seem to have an inability to do transfers efficiently, whether it be going outgoings or ingoings, and it's frustrating to see. So let me know what you guys think of the Jadon Sancho deal. Do you guys think that if we do go in and get do go in with a new and improved bid, do you think that will be efficient or rather sufficient to sort of Borussia Dortmund's needs? Because I just feel like it must be. I feel like it must be. Manchester United would not have drawn this deal out for so long without seriously looking at other alternatives. I know Dembele has been heavily linked, and we'll touch on him in a second, but I just can't believe that Manchester United, knowing the 120 million euro evaluation from Borussia Dortmund on Jadon Sancho, I feel like they'll put the bid in and we'll get the player. But what do you guys think? I see all your happy birthday comments. I was trying to concentrate there doing my little opening monologue about Jadon Sancho, but I was seeing all your happy birthday comments. We really do appreciate it, and all your get well soon comments. I have got COVID-19. I've had it for a little while now. I'm over the hump. Don't worry, I'm on the mend. As you can tell, as you can hear, I'm not 100% yet, but I am getting better. So thank you all. Not 21st, it's my 20th birthday today, but thank you anyway. But yes, let's see what some of you guys are saying on the Sancho deal. Of course, the Tellez deal as well. I mean, we'll touch on him in a second, but that's frustrating as well. You know, I talked about Chris Smalling, Dalot, Pereira, although Pereira's sort of done already, and Sancho, of course, as well. That Tellez deal seems to be dragging on as well, and I think, you know, the whole Sancho deal and the sort of procrastination in regards to that deal was really blinded us in regards to, you know, some of the poor activity elsewhere in the transfer market from Manchester United. 2 days to go in the transfer market for Manchester United. Now, of course, it's acceptable. I think Laurie Whitwell said it in the press conference yesterday. Mere mortals like us, you know, we work when the deadline hits, but a club, an entity as huge as Manchester United should not be leaving 120 million euro purchases to the deadline. It shouldn't be happening. And of course, you know, we've got Spurs in 2 days' time, or tomorrow rather. We've got Spurs tomorrow. If we'd brought in Sancho last week, there could have been a chance that he could have started tomorrow. Make no doubt about it that he would have started. I mean, if you look at the likes of Alex Tellez, there's an argument that he wouldn't go in and start. But listen, Jadon Sancho would absolutely come in and start for Manchester United, and so we're not going to see that now, and that could be to the detriment of points. You know, so that's where Manchester United are poor. But we've got super chats from you guys. Thank you so much for your contribution. Aiden, he says, get well soon, Sander. Sean Negative Turner says, Sancho 100% had a flight booked to London last night. That's a fact. Just him, though, no agent. I don't know where you're getting that information from. I hope you're right, but thank you for your contribution regardless. Delicate Official says, Sander, you can finally get wasted worldwide. Happy 21st birthday. Get in there, Sancho. I've still got a year left. It's my 20th birthday. But yeah, next year, we can do that again next year. Thank you regardless. Michael Gibbs says, do you think the board was counting on United winning Europa to fund the Sancho deal in the 90% club still? That's from Michael Gibbs. I don't believe so, no, I don't believe so. I don't think we were relying on the Europa League win to sort of fund the Sancho deal. That would seem like a silly strategy, I think. But then again, Manchester United and the board will never sort of cease to surprise me. So that could be true. It's stupid, but that could be true. It's clear that we don't have the funds at the moment, and I think we want to see some outgoings before we do get Jadon Sancho in. But make those outgoings happen then. Make those outgoings happen. Get Smalling out the door. Get, you know, we'll touch on him in a second, someone like Daniel James out the door. Then you bring in Jadon Sancho. You can always, all well and good talking about getting people out the door before you bring in Jadon Sancho, but we've got 2 days left, and to get maybe 1 or 2 players out the door, and Jadon Sancho and potentially Alex Tellez through the door in 2 days, when we've had 10 weeks or however many weeks to do it all, that seems strange to me. It seems strange to me, and so I can't wrap my head around it, but there you go. Rahit Rao says, happy birthday, Sander, you prat. Thank you so much, pal. And then Abhishek says, happy birthday, brother, and take care. Once again, thank you so much. It's overwhelming. You know, I'm self-isolating on my birthday, and so there's not much I can do, but your messages are really sort of, you know, appreciated. And Fearless Offend says, if this deal is to happen, do you think there 100% has to be significant movement today? I believe so. Listen, tomorrow we're playing a game. I understand things can happen, and Ed Woodward, you know, it'll be interesting to see if Woodward is at the game tomorrow or not, because he's been turning up recently. But if he's not there tomorrow, you know, that might signal that he's elsewhere doing business. But listen, yeah, I think every single day now, the chances of someone coming in like Jadon Sancho significantly decrease, because there isn't long left in the transfer window now. And so, yeah, I think, you know, we've got to get players out before we bring Sancho in. And so if that were to happen today, if we see someone leave today, it could be getting exciting. Again, Abhishek, another contribution. Thank you so much for your contribution, pal. He says, make no mistake, if anyone, if we are to sign Jadon Sancho this window, then we must see some movement into this deal today. Happy birthday, Sander. Big up, mate. Thank you so much for your birthday message. And yeah, as I said, you're sort of reiterating what I said. You know, yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, we've got to get some out before we get Jadon Sancho in, because clearly we don't have the funds for Jadon Sancho, or those are the rumours coming out so far, and so we need to see those happen today. Today, you know, is the last day. Tomorrow we play a game. Monday's transfer deadline day. What am I witnessing? We need to make things happen quick. And I've got so many super chats. Thank you so much. Stuart says Sancho medical would have to have happened before he joins up with the England squad. No international player is allowed to leave and return to their training camp bubble after they have arrived. Yeah, and that actually relates to Alex Tellez, who we'll talk about in a second. And Zane, with another contribution. Thank you, Zane. He says, Sander, I hope you beat Spurs. Of course, Zane's an Arsenal fan. Don't let me down. Make sure Spurs players have more toilet breaks. Yeah, of course, referencing Eric Dyer's little trip to the toilet the other day. But Yeah, on Jadon Sancho then, moving on from him and then talking potentially about the other people that we could bring in if Jadon Sancho doesn't join Manchester United. Ousmane Dembele, now, listen, that is not a deal that I think any of us really want to see happen, of course. I don't think anyone's out there going, yeah, no, amazing, amazing, amazing. Let's make that happen rather than Jadon Sancho. We're all on board the Jadon Sancho train, and that is where our eggs are. Our eggs are in that basket, and we want that to happen, right? Let me just put that away. And we want that to happen, right? But if that doesn't happen, first of all, we moan at the board. You know, we shout at the board and we go, you're incompetent. I cannot believe what you've done. You've dragged the deal out for so long and left things to the last minute and X, Y, and Z. And we shout at them. We get angry. Fair enough. I'm with you. But at that point, after we've done that, do you guys want to see Dembele come in? Now, for me, alone wouldn't be the worst of deals if Jadon Sancho comes in. Of course, Jadon Sancho coming in would be a nightmare. I'm under no illusions about that. But would you rather see nobody or Dembele come in on loan? That's the thing, on loan. Now, apparently Barcelona don't want a loan deal. And so if that is true, we will have to pay, a fee for a permanent deal for Ousmane Dembele, someone who, first of all, I mean, you guys know all this, but, has an unbelievably horrible injury record, first of all. His attitude is being questioned in regards to him sort of forcing a move out of Dortmund. And has had to be convinced to come to Manchester United. If you're going to sign a player, the player's got to convince us. We're Manchester United. Why are we begging players to come to Manchester United? They clearly don't want to be here. And if they are here, it's clearly only for the money. So in that regard, I absolutely don't want to see Dembele sign. But if we don't sign Sancho and it's on a loan and, we might have to split the wages or whatever, or, I don't want to pay all his wages, then I might be pro it if it's Dembele on loan or no one. A lot of you guys are saying no one. Yeah, fair enough. I absolutely respect that decision. For me, if you sign Dembele and he plays, you get more options. But if you sign Dembele and he doesn't play, you've got the equivalent of no one. So it's almost a win-win, right? However, I understand that you're paying his wages, but it's not my money, so I'm not concerned about that. Do you know what I mean? As long as we can afford it on a loan, I don't want to see him sign on a permanent deal whatsoever. But again, I think if anything happens in regards to this transfer, it absolutely says something about Manchester United's inadequacy in regards to the Jadon Sancho deal. Because if that deal doesn't happen, pitchforks are out and people are rioting because it's not acceptable. Stuart Taylor said, we got your contribution earlier, thank you. And there's Zane's contribution. And Apollo 30 is the new member of the United Stand Members Club. So thank you so much for joining. We really do appreciate it. Loads of perks that you can get, of course, by joining the United Stand Members Club. And a lot more to be coming out in the near future as well. So stay tuned for that. But everyone in the comments seemed to be anti Ousmane Dembele. So listen, I appreciate your contribution. And your input, and that's what it's all here about. I just think if we weren't to get in Sancho, of course I'd be angry, but on loan, for me, Dembele is you might as well. As I said, it's not my money, so spend that money and you might as well. But I don't want to see it happen on a permanent basis, which is what Barcelona apparently want to happen. Apollo 30, with your contribution after joining the United Stand Members Club, thank you so much. He said Real Madrid, Barcelona and Manchester United, the three richest and most valuable clubs in the world over the past decade, none of them are spending. So why all the criticism on Manchester United? I see what you're saying there, and I appreciate that absolutely. I think it's just more frustration because, I understand that the COVID-19 situation is difficult, but it's more the fact that if we didn't have any money and we didn't have any, money to spend on the likes of Jadon Sancho and Alex Telles, why are we still so persistent on signing him for 90 million euros? You don't sign a 90 million euro player, in your mind, if you have no money. That doesn't happen. If we have no money and Dortmund, we're interested in Jadon Sancho, and they go 120 million euros. You go, whoa, we've only got 50. Goodbye. That's game over. Clearly, we've got something along the lines of what they're asking for. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in for him this long and this persistent with him. So that's the frustration, the fact that we clearly have, there or thereabouts the amount of money that we need to spend, and we know that for a fact. It's Manchester United. But the fact that it's taken this long is the frustrating bit. Pete Squire says there's a dodgy reason why Barca are desperate to get rid. Injury-prone Dembulance. R.I.P. Barca. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt the guy's got talent. He absolutely does have talent, and there's no, there's a reason why he went for 100 odd million a couple of years ago as well. I think that was before the Neymar transfer, or maybe after actually. So there's a reason for that because he's got talent. There's a reason he's consistently in the French squad when he's fit because he's a talented young lad, and he is a young lad. But he's so injury prone. It's silly, and we want consistency. We want, our issue at Manchester United is inconsistency, right? And injuries can contribute to that. So why would you bring in a consistently inconsistent player to be a part of that plan? It doesn't make sense to me at all. And James Buxton Wade says, Sander, come to Denmark. All my sexy Danish girlfriends think you are well sexy. Well, there you go. Thank you. Thank you, James. I've got a girlfriend, but, love you, Megan. There you go. We appreciate your contribution anyway. Quinton says, I think the issue is they are letting good youngsters go for free just to buy them back for millions. I think you're referring, obviously, the Paul Pogba saga and then the Angel Gomez situation as well. We'll have to wait and see. I did see Angel Gomez scored a cracker of a goal yesterday. Muzzy Lyons says, happy birthday, buddy. Big 3 days for this board. Sancho should have been in weeks ago. Could have been the magic we needed to beat Spurs. Yeah, of course, listen, we might still go out and beat Spurs. We know that. We might still go and do that. But as I said, there's no doubt that if he was at Manchester United for more than 3 or 4 days, he'd start. He would start for Manchester United, right? So, he could be the difference. So, we'll have to wait and see. But moving on from Ousmane Dembele then, onto this guy, Ocampos, 17 goals, sorry, COVID, 17 goals, 5 assists for Seville last season. Now, admittedly, I didn't know much about him before the stream. To be honest, we have been linked to him as a potential alternative to Jadon Sancho. And as I said, I didn't really know much about Lucas Ocampos before this stream. So what did I do? I messaged my trusty Spanish correspondent, Jorge Garcia, and he replied saying, very good, came from Marseille, a very good player for Seville. He's been one of their standout players. Of course, Seville did very well last season, Europa League and that sort of thing. But he says he has a strange feeling that if he were to move to the Premier League or Manchester United, that he wouldn't do well. He just says that it's not a Manchester United signing, and that at Seville they sort of accommodate for him. They put all their focus on making it work for Lucas Ocampos. But if he were to move to Manchester United, of course the focus would be spread elsewhere. You've got Rashford on the left, maybe Mason. I was going to say Sancho, but it wouldn't be Sancho, would it? Martial, there's all these players that want ball time, right? And so Ocampos, the ball wouldn't consistently be going to Ocampos, and that's why Jorge thinks he would struggle. Again, I have to reference Jorge because I don't know. I haven't seen him play, and I'm going to be honest about that. I don't want to lie to you and say, yeah, I watched every single game last season. Do you know? Because I haven't. But Jorge says he's a good player, but that he just doesn't see it working for Manchester United, and so hopefully that doesn't happen. Those 17 goals and 5 assists last season, I'm just going to rehash that stat because it's one of the only stats I know on Lucas Ocampos. But again, if this deal does happen, what does it say first of all about the Jadon Sancho deal, but second of all about the Dembele deal? I think I potentially would rather a fit, consistent Ocampos than a sort of injury-prone Dembele, because an injury-prone Dembele is as good as no one, right? But what does it say about the Sancho deal? And clearly our eggs are in the Dembele basket after the Sancho deal. So what does it say about the Dembele deal if Ocampos happens, So absolutely, I don't want to see that happen. Darcy says, take a breath, son. I am sort of culpable of rambling on a little bit too much and too quickly. I do apologise if that isn't to your taste. I can't taste at the moment. Once again, COVID. But there you go. Moving on from Ocampos to this man, Dan James. Of course, we, Manchester United seemingly don't have the funds or all the funds required to get Jadon Sancho out of Borussia Dortmund. And so it has been rumoured that we need to get some people out the door before we can bring Jadon Sancho and potentially Alex Telles as well in the door. Now, Dan James plays in the same position as Jadon Sancho, or a lot of people think that he's better on the left, and fair enough, but he might be. But he's a winger, no doubt. Is Dan James someone that you guys want to see go out the door? Apparently Leeds are coming in with a £25 million take it or leave it deal. Of course, again, it's going to be today or tomorrow or the next day, right? We've literally got 3 days left, including today in the window, so it's going to be soon. Would you guys take it? Personally, I know Ricky says otherwise. Personally, I would. I don't think Dan James is good enough at all. I like his attitude. I like his work ethic. I like what he stands for as a player. And I liked the signing at the time because it showed for me a sort of intent on going in a certain direction at Manchester United. A young, British, exciting, almost like a bargain buy, which I liked. I was fed up last year of us consistently signing the likes of Di Maria and Falcao and Sanchez and putting them on big money and them not working out and flopping and simply being at Manchester United for the financial gain. So I liked the signing of Dan James at the time, and I think when he signed for 15 million quid, we all said, if it doesn't work out, it's 15 million quid. And it clearly hasn't worked out as well as his start to Manchester United sort of implied it would. And so as far as that is concerned, I would like to see him go, especially if it could fund the Jadon Sancho deal. I think if you get rid of Dan James and bring in Jadon Sancho, Christ on a bike, that's one hell of a sort of alternation, one hell of a rotation in position. And it's an upgrade, isn't it? One hell of an upgrade because they, as I said, play in similar positions. And so if Jadon Sancho comes in, regardless of what happens to Daniel James isn't going to have a lot of playing time at all, is he? But if he, comes in and Dan James goes out, I think that's one hell of an upgrade. So I'd absolutely like to see that happen. Not in a malicious way, not in a, you shit, get out the door, but in a way of, again, it's just not he's not been good enough, really, is he, at all? So there you go. Vibor says, Barca have spent loads more than us last few years with the same revenue. If we accept Dembele, we are letting them win. Happy birthday, Sander. Thank you, Vibor, for your birthday message. And yeah, Barcelona go under the radar, don't they? They really do go under the radar about their transfers. Every year they get someone, costing a lot of money, but when they inevitably capitulate in the Champions League, no one really seems to say much about it. So anyway, that's a different point for a different day. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on the Manchester United transfer business as well, and I think, well, that's the point of the show. But I wanted to just touch on the fact that if we had brought in X, Y, Z earlier, so let's say we brought in Van der Beek, Telles, and Sancho, right? And maybe even Josh King. If we brought those four players in, then I think, you could say that the Manchester United team would have a lot more pressure on them because of the signings, and maybe you can't directly compare them to Chelsea because Chelsea, for some reason, Frank Lampard's the media loving. But I think Manchester United are putting pressure on themselves, right? Which will affect the players and it will ultimately affect the performances on the pitch. If they had brought in players, it would be a steady camp and we could all go, listen, he's brought a couple players in, let it settle, we'll see where we are in December. I'm sure we'll kick on then, right? But now, because of the unrest amongst the fan base, because of the unrest within the media, clearly that is going to have an effect on the players and the performances and ultimately, therefore, the results. And that is just going to put pressure on Manchester United that is unneeded. United could have eased pressure by signing players early, making a statement, allowing everybody to bed. And look at Chelsea, everyone's allowing them to bed in. They were 3-0 down against West Brom, right? Got beat by Liverpool. They've literally been beat by Liverpool, Spurs, and almost by West Brom this season. But no one's having a go at them because, well, first of all, as I said, Frank Lampard and Chelsea, the media sort of lovebirds. But, aside from that, they've eased pressure from themselves, I think, in the sense that they've got the players in, the fans are happy, they're content, they're back Lampard, and it's fine. But the fans at Manchester United aren't happy because we put so much pressure on the board and Solskjaer and, we've got no one in, only got Van der Beek in, da-da-da-da-da. So I think it's ridiculous and it's just, it's a shame to see it happen. So, there you go. Moving on from Daniel James onto this man, Alex Telles. A deal that, again, I always thought that would happen because the fee was so low and it just made absolute sense. I don't see why Manchester United wouldn't get the deal over the line. I mean, if you're starting to play hardball for, 15, 18 million, you really need to get a life. You really need to get a life if you're Man United, If you're doing that in your Wigan, or, obviously Wigan might be buying someone for 50 million, but you know what I mean? If you're doing that in your Bournemouth, I understand. But if you're doing that in your Man United, Christ, there's something going wrong there. But it seems increasingly unlikely. Apparently, the Alex Telles camp is getting increasingly pessimistic on the deal, that the deal will happen, because, of course, Alex Telles will have to go to international duty, I think maybe tomorrow or the next day. He has been called up, and so a deal has to happen very, very soon. very, very soon if that deal is going to happen. And again, as I said, this whole Sancho saga is pulling the wool over our eyes in regards to what's happening elsewhere in the transfer market and in regards to Manchester United. Alex Telles, that deal has literally been going on for ages, for weeks. I'd even say over a month, right? And that still hasn't happened. Again, as I said, well, with Sancho, Sancho might have come in and started over Mason Greenwood. I'm pretty sure he would have against Spurs or against Brighton. And I probably wouldn't make the same argument for Telles. But regardless, you bring him in, you appease the fans a little bit. I'm sure you'd all be a little bit more forgiving. Not entirely forgiving, a little bit more forgiving if 3 days ago Telles signed. We'd be like, right, right, Sancho, that's later, but we've got Telles now. We can all relax a little bit. Sancho on the deadline day. But it's the fact that we've got to get in Telles, Sancho, get rid of Smalling, we've got rid of Pereira, Dalot, and all these other players. That all needs to happen within 3 days, including today, for us to be appeased as fans. That's why we're frustrated. So, again, in regards to the Telles deal, I'm worried. I am worried. It's going to happen. It's going to have to happen, today, potentially, if he's going away for international duty tomorrow. He has been called up again, so that could be true. Of course, he might go the next day. I'm not quite sure on the sort of fine details on that, but it's going to have to happen very, very soon. Apparently, Fabrizio Romano, when reporting the whole Alex Telles situation, said that we have backups. Why haven't I seen any links to those backups yet then, if he's going to go away on international duty in the near future? United are a shambles. Your comments. 10 Kenobi says, stepping up while unwell and on your birthday. Give this kid a pay rise, Mark. Thank you. I love doing it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't. So, my birthday, unwell, COVID, doesn't matter. I enjoy sitting here and chatting to you guys. Mark says, not going to happen. Rahesh says, Telles will sign for United after selling Smalling. But that's what I'm saying. If we're going to have to sell players for people to be brought in, we're going to have to sell players today. Literally today. I will be live with you. If it happens before 2 o'clock, I'll be live with you today. If it looks like we're going to sign Telles. Because if someone sells, if we have to sell players to get Telles in, that has to happen today. Lucas Casey says, I never thought as Manchester United we would be talking about selling players to be able to afford a top target. The club is seriously in trouble with the Glazers as owners. I agree. I certainly agree. And John Donnelly says they have been pulling the wool over our eyes for years. Again, I agree. Ten Kenobi again says stepping up while unwell. Oh, right, I've already read that one. Luke Novell. Luke, best friend since I was, a kid. Haven't seen each other for a little while, but thank you so much, Luke. I really do appreciate that. He says happy birthday. Thank you, man. And he says we will do loan deals and still not raise any cash. Club is a joke and not worthy of the name. Why? That's what I said earlier. We're as bad as signing players as we are as getting rid of them. Why? Pereira on loan. I'll touch on him. Now if I can bring him to the front. Here we go. This guy is going out on loan. Fabrizio Romano said, here we go to AC Milan. I believe it. That's, for me, as good as someone holding the shirt, as I said earlier, in regards to Jadon Sancho and other transfers. But why is it only on loan? I can tell you why it's only on loan, because United were asking for 30 million quid. That's more than we paid for him, and the market's probably gone down. It's the post-COVID era, so the market's crashed a little bit, right, or quite significantly. Teams have less money, and that's more than we bought him for. What's he done in the last 2 years to warrant a pay rise in a market crash? United are out their mind. They're deluded if they're asking for £30 million for Diogo Dalot. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. That's why he's going out on loan. And we're going to share his wages as well with AC Milan. It's frustrating. If that was 20-odd million, bang, you don't want him at your club anyway. That then could go towards a Jadon Sancho deal. And if it can't go towards a Jadon Sancho deal, that then can go towards an Alex Telles deal. It's frustrating to see Manchester United do these deals so inefficiently. And, again, another player that's going on loan, actually get your... I haven't actually spoken to you guys, because actually I think a lot of people... A lot of people are actually a bit upset about him going out on loan. I think I saw a couple of people on Twitter saying that yesterday. I'm certainly not. I think that's a good deal. Of course, not on loan. I'd like to see him get rid, permanently. But I don't think he's got a future at Manchester United. People say there's a player in there, and I was outside Old Trafford doing my match reaction or signing reaction from when Bruno Fernandes signed, freezing cold by the way, in January, and I actually got into, I was doing my piece of camera, and some Portuguese journalist came over and said, can we interview you? Can we get an English, person's response on the Bruno Fernandes signing? And I asked him about Diogo Dalot. Of course, he was playing for Manchester United at the time, but we hadn't seen him play a lot. And they said, listen, stick with him. He's only young and there's such a good player in there. But every time he seems to play for Manchester United, I don't see that player. And you can say, oh, well, he's great going forward, stick him at right wing. But if you're great going forward for a right back, you're not going to make, you're not going to be brilliant going forward for a right winger. I know you could say Gareth Bale has done it, and a few other players have as well, but it doesn't seem particularly great going forward, even though he's quite handy with a step over or two. Every single ball that he puts in the box seems to go wayward and never reaches their man. You could say that's potentially about Manchester United's lack of presence within the box from crosses, and I think that's a fair point to make. But regardless, Diogo Dalot for me, good riddance again. Injury prone, not done it at Manchester United. He might go elsewhere and smash it. Fair enough, but at Manchester United, it doesn't seem like. I don't think there's a future there for him. But Ricardo says here, I really like Dalot. Where's your comment gone? I really like Dalot, probably because we're both Portuguese, but he hasn't done enough in a United shirt yet, unfortunately. I take 20 million for him. It's exactly what I said, Ricardo. Again, I don't say any of these in a malicious way. When he signed, okay, it was a slightly underwhelming transfer window with Fred and Dalot and Lee Grant, the only players coming in. But regardless, of course, you get excited about him, and he showed a lot of passion. I remember when he scored against Tranmere, I think it was, the passion that he showed, and he clearly loves Man United. And it's sad that it hasn't worked out for him, but it just simply hasn't worked for him at Manchester United. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no room and time for sentimentality at a club like Manchester United, and so 20 million I take for him. But United are asking for 30, so they've only been able to get him out on loan with no option to buy. No option to buy from AC Milan because they were asking for 30 million quid in a market crash where he's done nothing for the last 2 years. Shambles. Absolute shambles. 2 contributions here. Thank you so much for your contributions. Renate has simply contributed. We appreciate your contribution with no comment. And Aditya says, I'm just refreshing Twitter for news. This is sad. Don't know what I will do if we don't get Sancho. Big ups from Melbourne, AUS mates. Thank you so much, pal. I really do appreciate that. It is a sad state of affairs, but there is 3 days left, including today, left for the transfer window, and so there is still time. It's just we're going to have to see things ramp up very, very quickly if we're going to get our main targets, because if we're going to get Jadon Sancho, it looks like people are going to have to go on permanent deals. He's gone. Pereira's gone. Not on permanent deals, though, which means that Smalling's going to have to go on a permanent deal. Also, we're making that deal very difficult for Roma. And Dan James is probably going to have to go as well. If we're going to have to get 2 players out before we get 2 players in 2 days, or 3 days, including today, things are going to ramp up very, very quickly for Manchester United. And if they don't, expect riots here on the United stand, because that is not acceptable as far as Manchester United and Manchester United's fans are concerned. Daniel says Depay going to Barca. Well, of course, they've been interested in Memphis Depay for some time now. If Ousmane Dembele does leave, that would probably allow sort of some wages and things like that to free up for Memphis Depay. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And finally, for today, we've got Chris Smalling. Again, as I said to you a little bit earlier, that deal looks like it will happen. But United are just frustrating the life out of Roma, and we're holding out for silly money here. I understand you're making a point that you don't want to be taken for mugs in the transfer window like we might have before, and I think there's merit in that, and I think that's good to an extent. But you've got to be kidding me when it comes to this deal. Again, as I said, if you've got to get players out to get likes of Jadon Sancho in, get things out, get players out, get things happening. Move on Smalling, move on Dalot for 20 million quid. Not on loan where you pay his wages and all this sort of stuff. It's not good enough. So, listen, yeah, I mean, it looks like Smalling will leave. Again, what do you guys think of that? I personally think, a lot of people think that he should have stayed at Manchester United. A lot of people think that he's better than the centre-backs we've got, and I think defensively, that is certainly an argument that you can make. But I think Solskjaer likes his centre-backs specifically to play out from the back. I think when you saw Harry Maguire brought in, you didn't only see a unit brought in, someone who's physically very strong, but I think you saw a ball player brought in, and of course he hasn't necessarily been up to scratch with his ball playing or his overall performances since he's come in. But regardless, the intent is there to get in someone that can play out from the back. You You look at Victor Lindelof, he has similar traits as well, again, despite not being good enough. Chris Smalling, regardless of what you think of him defensively and his defensive attributes, positioning and tackling and all that sort of stuff, playing out from the back clearly isn't his forte. You see that when he got left out of the England squad by Gareth Southgate. Gareth Southgate, he was always a fixture in the England side, always starting. Gareth Southgate comes in, he likes to play from out the back. Chris Smalling's immediately not in the side. John Stones is in the side. John Stones is not a better centre-back than Chris Smalling, but he can play out from the back, and that's the system and the style of play that Gareth Southgate and that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to play. And so as far as that is concerned, I don't think Smalling fits into it, and therefore I think it's fine if he leaves. I think he'll do well in Italy, as he has done. But for Manchester United, I don't think he fits in the system that we're trying to implement at the moment. So there you go. Avin says, happy birthday, Sander. Thank you, Avin. Out from the back, Smalling, Ben Mack says, Smalling is a good player, but I do think that we need to sell him for a reasonable price. Plus, that makes room for Telles. Obviously, they don't play in the similar positions, but I think if you're talking financially, then yeah, I agree. And there you go. I think that's everything for today, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I think realistically, we're probably going to look at Sancho, Telles, and this is optimistically, Sancho, Telles in, Dan James and Chris Smalling out. That's what I hope will happen. I think Josh King or someone along those lines will probably happen towards January. Of course, that's when Igalo's transfer or time at Manchester United runs out. So yeah, there you go. We'll stay tuned. I might be live, if something happens today or up until 2 o'clock, of course. So stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like. Guys, hope you guys have enjoyed it. I really do appreciate all your get well soon messages. I'm okay. I'm self-isolating. It is my birthday again. I appreciate all your happy birthday messages. And I shall see you guys tomorrow, probably, if not today. Thank you, guys, and ta-da.